how's the dating world right now?
It's rough. It's going. I mean, as you mentioned, that CBS article, and I'm pretty open about it, but it's hard to navigate dating with a disability, especially with online dating apps being kind of the main source that people of our generation use to meet people. I think,
I met my wife on Hinge.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
I love hearing success stories. And
I'm a rare occasion, I guess.
No, there's a few, 'cause the people it works for. And I'll be honest, I feel like I don't give it my fair try sometimes just because I kind of get frustrated. But, I think when I first started on the dating apps, maybe 10 years ago at this point, less than that, I wasn't comfortable and open with my disability. So that's when I really was experimenting, like, do I even put it on there at all? I would literally show up to a date and not even tell the guy like beforehand, and just a lot of different ways because I didn't know the best way to go about it. So now I have it on my profile. I also have, this online presence where they can easily look it up and learn all about it, where I don't have to do that education anymore. I'm still open to questions and stuff, and open to talking to them about it. But so far it's been the same. But from everything, what I've found, it's all about education. If someone is familiar with someone with a disability, it really doesn't matter to them that much. Some people who don't know anyone with a disability, they may be a little more hesitant. But as you know, I'm like, disability doesn't define who a person is, and it's just a part of my life. And I walk a little different, but I still do all this other stuff. So it's been a roller coaster for sure.
If you don't mind me asking, like, do you have like any horror stories
for dating?
Yeah. Or just with people in general, just like an experience that even shocked you,
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I'm sure I could think of a few. I'll just share one story in terms of dating. So there was one I was on, probably like pretty not far, but not a first date, like maybe fourth date, talking for a couple months. And we just kept, like, what do? We went to a brewery, so got some drinks, just like hang out, play games, whatever. And then when we were leaving, I kind of like tripped over the curb and fell. And which is not uncommon for me. Like, I joke, my favorite line is like, fall 7 times, stand up 8. So I fell, I was fine, had a little scratch, but I got up right away. I tried to make my date feel comfortable, but, proceeded with the night. And then after that, I was essentially ghosted. And, obviously in hindsight, I'm like, the only thing I could pinpoint it on is the fall. When everything else up until that point was totally fine. So I think that kind of caught me off guard, because I think it was like a moment when I was like, oh, this person seemed to be, interested in me, and vice versa. And we had really good chemistry and all of this. But then as soon as something got maybe hard or challenging for them, instead of, having a conversation with me about it, they just ghosted me. Didn't bring it up ever, and kind of that was it. So I think in terms of dating, at the time it was hard for me to go through, and being ghosted is always frustrating. And then having to tie it to my disability specifically was challenging for me to kind of sort through. But in hindsight, now I'm like, if a guy doesn't want to or can't express, how they're feeling to me, or how a situation might have made them feel, or talk through things that we could come out together on the other side stronger, that's not necessarily, again, like someone I would want to be with if they run the second something like that happens. So that's one example there of just kind of the not, giving me the opportunity to talk it through, and just making that decision and moving on.
Oh yeah. I've tripped before plenty of times, you
Yeah.
know, and you know, on dates too. Like be walking to an Uber, and I would just trip over like something on the sidewalk, and just kind of, I would blame it on alcohol always, be like, oh, but it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's embarrassing. But then I think you tend to put more weight on it because, you know, I didn't see what I tripped on, and that's why I tripped on it. And it's like, you know, it can kind of mess with you and kind of stick with you. It's like one of those, like, it's like, the reality is, it's like, it's cringe to you, or like, I'll speak for myself. It's cringe for me. You know, when I think back on it, it's like one of those cringe memories. But in reality, it's like, it's really nothing. Like, it's just like you tripped over something.
Yeah.
You know, but like,
Yeah.
you make it seem so much bigger. Like or at least I can make it seem so much bigger than it is, you know?
Oh, definitely.
It's like everyone else has already forgotten about it, but it'll be like 5 years later and I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like me,
Yeah.
telling this story, I'm like, this was like 4 years ago, and I'm sure no one else, it crosses their mind, but I'm like, nope, it's still right there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how that is, but
Yeah.
you know, I appreciate you opening up and sharing that with me, you know, cause I feel like I haven't talked that much about this on my podcast in terms of like what it's like to be out there dating, and, you know, plus I'm curious, you know, myself, you know,
Yeah.